pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Andrew Obanowitz.
Here.
Mary Ann Turner, here. Kelly Davis.
Here.
Charlie Masterverdi. Tim Neville.
Here.
Rich Stroney.
Here.
Robert Kwasnicki.
Here.
Kathy Plopper. Here. Mr. Chairman, you're going to need an alternate.
Who is next on our rotation? Because I don't think Charlie designated anybody.
Who's the last one who did it? Kwasnicki wins.
Okay, that works for me.
If Charlie shows up, you're out.
Understood.
All set.
All set.
Okay, fire evacuation notice. There's two means to exit this room. One is behind the audience and out onto the town green. The other is to the right of the audience, down the stairs and into the parking lot. Do we have a town attorney's report? I'm going to guess no. Staff, nothing? No. Anything that needs to be said on the executive session bullet point? No?
Not at this time.
Okay. So going back to old business. ZBA 2022-06-15A, 79 Enfield Street. Oh, yeah.
We
well,
continued
yeah.
it.
Right, this is a continued hearing. Someone in the audience to come up?
7981? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
And the reason we continued this, Madam Secretary, was for the CEO to be here?
Yes,
Okay,
and he sent us some documents.
correct.
We closed the hearing though, so it really should be just him, right?
I don't know, did we close it?
Yes, we did. We voted to close the hearing, yeah.
We
No.
don't have minutes, so I can't tell you.
I don't believe that you did close it. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
continued.
I thought we took a vote to continue.
Yeah, I think you were going to close it, but then you decided to continue it.
So that if Rick had something to add, he would have been
Right.
here closed.
There wouldn't have been a reason to continue.
But we had voted to close off the applicant's comments and go to comments from us.
Right, but then we didn't close the
But
But we didn't close the
meeting.
meeting itself, we
Right,
just
we didn't
closed that.
Right, he
So,
finished.
but can he,
Yeah.
he had to close.
Yes, because they're not closed yet. We're not-
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was continued.
Yeah, I thought that was the vote we took. I don't have the minutes, and I think we should operate under that premise, and there's no way that's only going to help the applicant anyways. It's not going to disadvantage them, so. Rick?
I believe there was a continuation because there was some question about the previous approvals. So part of the documents that I sent to you include the original approval for the location, along with those conditions of approval from previous variances and special use permits that were previously approved for that address. I think also in that packet was the approved site plan that was approved under the,
There's no site plan.
It wasn't in the packet.
Yeah, the only engineered plan we have was from the original packet of the Tire Max drawing by Gary Leclerc.
Sure that's not it?
I'll check again.
Thank you. Maybe hold on to it for a minute?
Sure.
Okay. So this is the parking's going this way. I have no idea what that is.
give it to Nicole to make
I
copies.
think this is a different, this map was drawn off of this map.
I think so too. There's no date on this map.
No.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to make
on the
copies of the
bottom.
site plan?
Right. what's different.
This is different. I don't know what that is.
That's the area that's in question.
The one that I handed you is the one that was signed by you.
They're my initials.
Okay.
I took, so this, if this is the thing, I removed that. Those are my initials on here saying we were removing that.
Right, that's correct, but that was the approved site plan that was sent, correct.
Not this.
Not that,
Which shows that the container was to be removed.
correct. That was the one that was, the site plan that was approved by the ZBA for his original approval back in February of 2021.
And it's right on here, it shows my initials showing that this was to be removed.
That's crossed out there, that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
You guys don't see
Thank
this?
you, Rick. And
Those are my initials there. That would have happened when I had to come in to sign off the,
The Mylar.
right inside the documents for the K7.
That's what. Stuck it in here.
I need to send it this way when you guys have a minute.
Yes, because we don't have copies.
We only
so
have
that
one
the
of
rest of
those.
the commission can.
I'll just hand them this other copy, that's all.
And that's the area that we're referring to.
Here, we'll take that one to send. Thank you.
Can I ask a question of Rich? Yeah, Rich. Rich, did you also send out several pictures from 2016? There were, I think, GIS pictures.
Yeah, I did. There are Google Earth pictures. There was a question as to how long the container had been there. So in your packet, you should have photos from 2016
Yeah.
where there is no container there.
Right.
And then it goes on from through 2000, March of 2022. So if you look in that one there on March of 2022, you'll see a container, then you'll see a highlighted area that is a stack of tires that was out there at the time that the photograph was taken.
So there was no container there on 2016, but there were two containers there on 17, and then one container for the rest of the pictures that I saw. Like, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So basically 6 years with a container of any kind there.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So, reviewing the conditions that we reviewed when the K7 was requested back when, the landscaping around the hopper, there's 4 outside dumpsters now. None of them are behind anything, they're all over the parking lot. There's no 6-foot high stockade fence, which I've mentioned numerous times.
There is not.
Okay, and I enjoy the fifth one that says only repair of the applicant's own vehicles will be allowed, which this business wouldn't be able to function if that was,
That's correct, if that was enforced.
right, and that's the reason why it would have been easier if planning and zoning had an opportunity to review this new business. But we can only go by the rules that are in front of us, because that's ZBA's job.
Further questions?
I went back over the film because I'm old and I forget 2 months is too long a time to get the details, right? But I was looking there and some of the questions were asked were, had to do with dumpsters and stuff like that. That isn't, we're really looking at the container for the tires, but the dumpsters keep getting referred to, particularly in the paperwork here. Is there anything, do we have anything that we have to deal with dumpsters here?
Not tonight. I mean, if I were to take enforcement, obviously, it may come to that point. The conditions of approval were part of the approval for used tire max. The issue of the dumpster, not the dumpster, the container came up because of the C-Click Fix complaints, so I addressed that. I also spoke to him regarding some of the other issues when the issue of the container came up. If you go there now, you'll see that in that section, which is actually residential 33, but still part of that property to a certain extent, it's kind of like a buffer between that and the residence next door. There's a boat that's parked there, a boat and trailer, which shouldn't be there. And the issues of the dumpsters have been going on now for quite a while. And yeah, so we can hopefully rectify it.
Well, I believe that we've talked about those since they came in and wanted to start the business, but we couldn't do anything because ZBA's hands cannot put on conditions, and they're only here for a K7 at that time. K7 is very pinpoint. There's nothing we can do, and the only thing the applicant can do is take it to planning and zoning, and that didn't happen.
Correct. Or I can follow through with enforcement, and then we deal with it on that aspect.
Right, but the only thing you can enforce is what's already agreed to in these conditions, and the conditions go back to 1967.
Correct.
Just to go, we keep reading about it in terms of it's an appeal of your order to them. That's what this is. They're appealing your order.
It's the appeal of the container.
But now we keep talking about they're looking for a permit. There's no application here for a permit. Maybe it's just a technicality, but
No, he would have to go back to the Planning and Zoning Board for a site plan modification.
so no
But
matter-
the problem with that is that under the regulations, a container is only temporary. It's not permanent. There's no permanency to it.
Correct.
So what's the issue here tonight is that if we're not being asked to do a permit. We're basically,
No.
we're not. But I think the applicant,
No,
what
we're
I'm
here
hearing him
about
say is
cease and
that-
desist.
there's a misunderstanding, and I just want to make sure we're talking about the right thing. We're basically have one charge. If there's an appeal of your order, whether it's to support that charge or to turn it down.
That is correct.
That's the only thing
That's the only thing that's
it.
before you tonight.
That's it.
Okay. And for anything else, they have to go to planning and zoning. Is that correct or no?
Well, it could be if that's the route, but as I said,
The
it's
issue,
only a temporary. It's something that he's going to have to deal with. The regulations are what they are.
Yep. No, I'm just trying to clarify what we have to do. And I think
Before you
Rich
tonight-
tried to do that the other night, too.
Before you tonight is strictly the appeal of my enforcement order regarding the container.
Thank you, Rich.
any further questions from the commission staff, or do we have questions for the applicant? If not, I'm going to let him have a chance for his rebuttal. Please say your name and address for
Hi.
the record and
Moshe Ronan,
whatever you'd like.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Moshe Ronan, 24 Churchill Drive, Long Meadow, Mass. I'm the owner of the business and the building on 7981. I just want to address for 1 second the fence. There's misunderstanding. I know she's been mentioning it from the last time. There's a fence there already separate the neighbors and the building. And whatever I did to the building for the last 3 years, even moving 1 block of cement or whatever, I had a meeting, and there's people here to testify, all the neighborhood. Everything I did, I had a meeting with them, and I asked them, is that okay with you guys? Can you live with it? Obviously, everything going to be legal, and they were adamant not to put a stockade fence, whatever you call it, because that will block their view, that will block the yard, that will block their windows. And if you remember from the last meeting, they were here testifying that there's a fence there, and they're very happy with it, and it's separating the 2 buildings, and that's the only reason there's no stockade fence, because they are against it. And I thought as a good neighbor, I will abide by it. And if you visit the location, there's a fence over there, and you can tell between the building and the neighbors. And I think, in my opinion, in their opinion, it's sufficient for the fence to stay just the way it is. And for me to build something else to block, they're blocked already from my building. So to put a fence, it's almost be like a jail, really. But again, you can ask the neighbors, and they will maybe explain it better. Let me go back to I know the building for 50 years. I was there 40 years ago. I operated Bob Wiener Tire Company. Bob Wiener Tire Company took over Interstate Tire Company, which ran by the Nugent family. As Mr. Rochelle can testify, there was a trailer on the back of the building for 40 years. It was ugly. Even the neighbors can testify to it. I mean, Google, Schmoogle, whatever. Google, I don't understand what happened there. But Interstate Tire Company had a semi-trailer parked in the back of the building for the junk tires, which is a common practice in the tire business, and not to have tires hanging all over the parking lot, against the building, outside. It's not good. It's not sanitary. It's just bad business. After Interstate Tire Company went out of business, Bob Wiener Tire put his own semi-trailer to get the tires, the junk tires. After that, with Acme Auto Parts, I'm sure you've seen it. You've been there for all those years. And the last person put a pod over there. And the pod, I thought, in my opinion, it was small in comparison to the big, ugly, large semi-trailer. It was painted correctly because the neighbors asked me, please paint it so the color will mesh with the rest of the building so it won't be an eyesore. So I did everything in my power to keep it clean, to keep it operational. The particular container or dumpster, if you look, any tire company in the country have a semi-trailer or container for junk tires not to be outside. And as I told you the last time, we have a contract with a tire company that coming every 2-3 weeks and empty the trailer and pick it up. But when I bought the building with this pod, with this storage container, as which Mr. Rochelle can tell, was there. I bought the building with the container that came with the building. But bottom line is, it's essential for my business to operate with a small container, so to keep junk tires from being all over the parking lot. I'm not asking to change traffic pattern. I'm not asking to change traffic lights. It's not interfering with neighborhood. It's not interfering with the parking space. It's not interfering with anything. So basically, I'm asking to get approval so I can have a container. If you don't approve it, I think legally I can put a shade around there, and that will be even uglier and even bigger. So I think we should consider to approve my application because it's there. I bought the building with that container. It's clean. It's sanitary. It's been approved by all the neighborhood. Not approved, and they're okay with it. And my main concern was to do the right thing. And it's good for my business. It's good for the neighborhood. And that's all I can tell you.
Mr. Chairman, question?
Questions? Yep.
For staff, with the ZBA approval in 1967, it says the additional structure for which the variance is granted is for storage only. Is that structure gone, or that's referred to from that approval? I mean, I know it goes back to 67 and
I believe that that's part of the actual structure that's there now,
the building itself.
the building itself.
Okay.
There was an addition put on.
Okay. That was my only question from that. It would not refer to a separate storage container.
No, that was part of the portion of the building. If you look at the GIS aerial, you'll see that part of the actual structure is actually into the R33 zone.
Yep.
That was an addition that was added.
Okay, that was the
on.
additions. Okay, thank you.
Further questions of the commission? Seeing none, I'm going to turn it over. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Ronan, the pod in question, the storage unit, is that a pod that's,
It is a pod, yeah, it's a pod with no wheels, it's just sitting on the ground with two little doors at the end, and that's how we go in, put the tires in and close the door. And with the tire company coming in, we just open the door and they go inside and take all the tires away, the
is
junk
that,
tires.
is that pod secured to the ground, or is it just sitting on?
Just sitting on the ground, just sitting on the ground. They came with very heavy.
Thank you.
No further questions from the commission? Now I'm going to turn it over to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this matter? Come on up, ma'am. Say your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl Blythe at 6 Willard Ave, abutting property to Mr. Ronan. I've been here several times. I've written letters on his behalf. He's done a lot to make us happy. However, I'm here a little bit in distress because lately I'm not happy. This boat on 4 Willard Ave, 4 Willard Ave was agreed with Mr. Ronan and I that that would be not used for anything. It's a space, a buffer to keep business or whatever away from us. That boat sits 2 or 3 feet right from my fence. I don't know if he even knows it, but the boat has filled up with water. It has tipped and gone this way. It's a hazard. I don't like it. It's not supposed to be there. I'd like to know who really owns this business. He's told me he sold it. Somebody else has told me he's bought it. I don't know who to talk to anymore, when I have concerns. This pod is not my concern. It doesn't bother me one bit. But pallets have started again. If the hours of operation, they're not what he said. I swear there's 7 days a week over there. It's gone downhill. I don't know who's managing it now. There's a whole different crew in there. But us living next to it we're not comfortable with it anymore. And I don't know what else to tell you. But I really wish the boat situation would be gone.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience that would like to? Yes, sir.
My name's Howard Blythe. I live at 6 Willard Ave, abutting the property. I've been on that street for 40 years, and I don't remember ever seeing other trailers there, as Moshe says. I remember when Bob Weiner was there and the rest, they kept their tires inside, downstairs. They have an elevator that goes downstairs, or one of those things that, you can go up and down, chutes. They had it, because when they moved out, they had to take 3 truckloads of tires out from downstairs. My concern is, you brought up 1967. 1967, that piece was added on. That is fine. But it was added on, if you look at the records into the town, because I went back and my wife did, kind of looked at the records. That was added on for a storage area only. So that bay that was added on is supposed to be for storage. They're using it, they got ramps in there, they use it to work on vehicles and cars and everything. It was supposed to be used, like you said, 1967, for storage only. I didn't see anywhere along from 67 to now that it has changed, that it wasn't used for storage. Mr. Moshe has done a lot on the property. I have no issue with the container, but as my wife said, the business, I've been told by 2 or 3 different people, the ex-manager of the place, Michael, that the business has been sold to a man named Joel. I don't know his last name. And he has come over and talked to us, telling us he's going to cut all the trees right up to the butt of our property. And so I don't know who to believe anymore. Moshe said he still owns the business, the building. But 2 or 3 people have told me that's why the signs was up there. There were signs up there, and they put another sign up for the other company. That other company is Joel. He's a brokerage banker, and he's the one that owns the vape shop too, next door, right in the same 79. And like my wife said, we'd like to know. We don't know who to talk to anymore. And the business has gone downhill. The pallets are starting to pile up again. They're there 7 days a week working. There's no set hours. I thought there were supposed to be set hours. And 7, 8, sometimes 9 o'clock at night they're there. And then on the weekends they're there washing their cars. I don't know what kind of detergents they use. The stuff flows into our yard. It's killed 2 of my wife's bushes. We still left the bushes there. They're dead. It's from the detergent, whatever they're using to wash their vehicles. I just think, like I said, the container, no problem. The boat is a problem. And if it continues to stay there, then we want a buffer zone. The fence is no problem. You know, you don't have to put up a fancy fence. You know, we're happy with it. But now they're storing stuff behind that's right almost on our yard. And that boat, it's got to go. I don't even know if it's registered. I don't see no plate on it or nothing. So it's about all I have to say for now. But if it continues, we are going to push for a buffer zone. I mean, it's gone. The place has gone downhill. It's terrible. I've been on that street 40 years. I've owned 2 houses on that street. And it's terrible. It's really starting to go downhill with this new guy that's running it, Joel, whoever it is. Rather he bought the business or what, I don't know yet. I'm still trying to find out. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address this issue? Seeing none, would the appellant like to come back up and, yeah.
Just want to clear the situation with the ownership. I own used Tire Mac for the last 40 years. I have 4 locations in Massachusetts, 1 location in Connecticut. I'm 72 years old. I'm kind of like to retired. I've been doing it for 60 years. The 4 locations in Massachusetts are higher. It's a common practice in business. You hire a management team to run your business. I still pay the taxes. I still responsible for the building. I'm still responsible for the neighbors, obviously. And basically, there's a management team which are hired, which running the business. They can call it, they can call themselves bosses. They can call it, but if you look at paperwork, I'm the owner. I'm paying the taxes. I'm paying property taxes, real estate taxes, utilities, and basically they are running my business because I thought, and I still think, a good young management team can do a better job than me being 72 years old and like to retire. As far as the boat, they mentioned it to me. We had discussed the boat situation many times. Basically, it's one of the mechanic boat. It's on my property. Legally, he's allowed to be there, but I had an agreement with the neighbors to have, for years, that particular area had trailers, semi-trailers, of course, they can tell you the same thing, with a dock with people going in and out with trailers. So I promised I'm going to keep it clean, which I did, and have it not occupied by anything. That particular mechanic ordered a parts. Matter of fact, I talked to him today. Ordered a part for the boat. It's been going on and on, and I'm having a hard time getting it. But it is a problem, and believe me, I will move it. Even if I have to tow it tomorrow, I will move it because that's what I promised the neighbors, that that place will be empty. So as far as the management team, like I said, that's legally, I'm allowed to do that. And basically, I'm still responsible for everything as far, like I said, legal matter, business, bills or whatever, I'm responsible for it. I have 4 different management team in Massachusetts, and I have, like I said, a management team running my location in Enfield. As far as the place running down, I'm sorry it happened for the neighbors, but I'm on top of it. I'm there almost every other day, talking to the people, trying to keep it clean. I even mow the lawn myself with other people or hired people to keep it clean. But that's as far as the management team and the boat. That boat will be moved immediately because, like I said, legally it's allowed to be there, but morally and with the agreement, I told the neighbors that that thing going to be open and they're not going to be occupied by anything. So I will take care of it.
Anything else from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Neville said earlier, that we're here for the cease and desist related just to the storage container. I know there's some concerns raised by the public, and Mr. Ronan has obviously responded to that, but just want to reiterate that we're here for
That's what we're here for,
the
but
container.
it's their right to comment.
Absolutely.
I wasn't going to interrupt
No,
what they
absolutely.
had to say. So.
just to reset the board and so that there's no misconception from the public that's spoken. We're only here to act on that one component. I think staff can help you with the other parts because that's not in our purview.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yep.
ask you a question? Is it appropriate for an owner of a business to update a management team on the agreed-upon business operating hours?
That, again, is not our purview.
Right.
But our
It's not
our zoning
germane to this
enforcement officer
conversation
heard
tonight.
it.
Oh, okay.
He'll take care of it tomorrow.
I was just wondering if it was, in our view, appropriate. So,
Nope.
We don't have a view.
No, we have no views,
oh, gotcha.
none. I make a motion to close the hearing.
Okay, is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
Okay, the hearing is closed. Discussion?
It is very clear that we are here about a container. It says specifically in our documents, as part of the approval of a site plan was also approved that did not show or allow outdoor storage, period. Boats, containers, nothing. So I will be upholding, and I'm sure you've heard other things. So we are very clear. When we came here in 21 for this, and now that I have my original site plan in front of me, it specifically shows on here that we agreed to remove it.
Any other comments, discussion? I think I would just bring up that in the aerial photos that we have, there's various different containers and items in that area. So it really hasn't been the continued same trailer. And that can be seen just by simple sizing. Anybody else, anything?
Rick, on the approval conditions, the additional structure for the variance, just to reiterate, you mentioned this, but that's that part of the building that's abutting the residential, the storage?
Yeah, from 67, yeah,
Yeah.
that was an addition that was put onto the building that
That's
extends.
not relevant to what we're here for tonight.
No, I understand, I'm just trying to clarify the documentation that was given.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? Not? Do we have a motion?
I should have a motion here written someplace from the, okay. I make a motion to approve ZBA 2022-06-15A 79 Enfield Street appeal of the ZEO cease and desist order regarding temporary storage structure 7981 Enfield Street LLC owner Mosh Raunan, applicant map 35 lot 217 BL zone according to the materials submitted under ZBA 2022-06-15A. Before you vote, please understand what yes means uphold the ZEO, and no means you don't uphold. We have that correct?
That is correct. So an affirmative vote would be a vote in favor of the ZEO's position. And a negative vote, an against vote would be a vote against the ZEO's.
Second.
Okay?
Go ahead.
That's incorrect, I believe. If you read the motion says to approve.
Right, but we have to, that's why I want to make sure we have it accurate. So to approve means to uphold the ZEO? I'm reading what you
Well,
gave me.
I think we went through this a couple of years ago, that they had to be made in the positive versus
It-
how
it-
they had been previously done.
Right.
I'm thinking that it probably should say motion to uphold the
I think it,
ZEO's.
yes, I'm agreeing with
As
that.
opposed to approve.
So I'm going to change that, so we don't have any misunderstanding.
So you've
Nicole.
made a motion to uphold.
I'm going to amend that.
Okay, and we have a second on this?
Oh, okay.
Second.
Okay.
So-
All right. All those in favor as amended?
We're voting on that first, everybody. So we're not voting on the motion. So we're just the change, the motion to uphold, not motion to approve,
Yes.
okay?
Okay. Now, is there any other discussion now that we've amended it? If not, we have a,
You want me to read it
Yeah.
again? Motion to uphold ZBA 2022-06-15A 79 Enfield Street, appeal of the ZEO's cease and desist order regarding temporary structures at 7981 Enfield Street. Zone accordance to the materials submitted ZBA 2022-06-15A. So we're here to uphold him.
right,
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
Are you telling us
Those
we're doing it
against.
wrong again?
No, you're doing it correct.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll uphold, jeez.
All those against? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Upholding his cease and desist.
Upholding the cease and desist order, 5-0.
To the chairman, to the ZEO,
Yes.
I would appreciate it if you would go out and find out who owns the building. I'd like you to find out about the times and that they're supposed to be open and closed. I'd like you to find out about the boat in the back. And I'd like you to find out about the parking lot with all the dumpsters. And I'd like you to, if you have to, take it back to planning and zoning if they need to do a site review, because we can't do any of
Yes.
it.
Put in the hours too?
The hours.
Yeah.
And here's a copy of your site plan. I think we have a couple of them. This is the one that's yours. No. upholding.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're upholding the ZEO's order to remove the container. That's all I'm gonna write.
Yeah. I think that's all that needs to be said. He laid it out. So it's fine. All right, moving along on our agenda. Legal notice, Madam Secretary. I think we ought to, should we read the one that's been withdrawn and just note that it's withdrawn, Lori, or is it okay for us to just skip that? I'll just note that item A has been withdrawn by the applicant. Madam Secretary, the legal notice for item B.
ZBA 2022-09-1392 Main Street, request for a setback and sidewalk variance of section 10.10.7, Town of Enfield applicant, Salas Brothers LLC owner, map 24, lot 24, 161, TD4 and TD1 zone.
Mr. Chairman?
Applicant's counsel is here and ready to go.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. Attorney Carl Landolina, representing Salas Brothers LLC, sort of a joint application with the town of Enfield. I'm joined to he was there on my right, now on my left, the well-known and eminent engineer from East Windsor, Dana Steele, who's going to, I guess, give you a brief walkthrough of the project at 92 North Main Street. The Salas Brothers acquired this about a year or so ago, and they've been working with the town to redevelop the project or the building. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It was one of the first, banks on North Main Street back in the day. Mr. Salas himself is a little bit of a historian, and some of his work is probably in your packet. He found photographs of the building back in the heyday of that era. The building used to be located directly on the street. There was almost no setback between the street and the building. North Main Street was relocated, I think, probably back in the 70s or 80s. You'd probably know better than I would. And there was an actual sort of trapezoidal piece when they moved North Main Street further away from the building that was, at that point, given from the town to then the owner of the building, Mr. Martin Levitz. And I did not represent the Salas Brothers when they acquired it, but for some reason, that piece in front, a couple thousand square feet that Mr. Levitz owned when the road was relocated, was not part of the deal. The Salas Brothers have since acquired that from Mr. Levitz, so now they own the entire piece that Mr. Steele is going to tell you about. In addition, the town has made arrangements with the Salas Brothers to give them about another 3,000 square feet near the community gardens so that they'll have parking, or at least some parking, on-site parking for this use. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Steele, and he can walk you through the site plan.
Thanks, Carl. For the record, Dana Steele, civil engineer with J.R. Russo and Associates. Our office is at 1 Shoham Road in East Windsor. We prepared this survey that was submitted with this application in support of it. The first sheet here, sheet 2 of 5, shows the existing parcel, which I've outlined in pink on the plan. So that's what he currently owns. You can see the building located here with this hatch mark takes up a good portion of that site. There is an existing gravel parking area to the left of the building, which I've highlighted in yellow. And as you can see, that gravel area actually encroaches onto the town property. The area that I've highlighted in green is what the town is proposing to transfer to the applicant, so that the parking they've been parking basically on the town's property. The community gardens are just to the east of this green area. There's a fence that actually defines the limit of those community gardens, and so that acquisition is right along that fence line. So right now, the building is a two-story building. There's retail on the first floor, and there's vacant space on the second floor that I think has had residential uses in them in the past, but it's been vacant for quite a while. There was a bait and tackle shop on the ground floor. That's been gone, I think, 18 years or so. And so the site really is underutilized, and the town was interested in seeing it redeveloped and improved. And really, to make it a viable use, there needs to be some on-site parking. You can't just rely completely on parking along the street for these. You're going to get a retailer to come in if they don't have anywhere to park. So the regulations for the uses proposed, four studio apartments on the second floor and retail on the first floor, requires 15 parking spaces, and there's just no way to provide 15 parking spaces, even with the land that would be acquiring from the town. And so we've come up with a site plan that we first submitted to staff to discuss with them our proposal. So it would change the area of the parcel to include that green parcels. Now it all becomes pink. It's all part of the applicant's property, and a new parking area with parking on with an aisle in the middle and parking on both sides that would fill up that space. Problem is, because of the zoning regulations, there is a 10-foot setback required from the parking to the building, and there's a 10-foot setback required from the property line to the to the parking area. So there's just no way to fit this parking lot within the space that's available. You can't move further to the south because we're bordered to the south by Broad Brook. There's the brook is in blue here. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Freshwater Brook in blue here. And then from there is a steep slope coming up to the limits of there. So there's no way for us to go any further that way. The property to the west is I think owned by the town currently as well. But there's a building here on the next lot, and there's not enough room in here to do any kind of substantial parking. So this is not really useful for parking. Environmental, topographic restrictions this way. The only way to go is to the left, and we're restricted by the community gardens by going any further, to where if we could take more of this and eliminate some of the community gardens, but that's not an option right now for us. So we're in a predicament where we can't develop the property without a variance. That's why we're here, to request a reduction of this setback from 10 feet to 4.8, and of this setback from 10 feet to 6 feet. And that, and with those variances, we'd be able to provide 10 on-site parking spaces. Still not the 15 that the regulations require, but there is a provision when the regulation in this neighborhood that allows us to have up to half of our parking at other locations on street. And there are community parking lots within walking distance of this property. So there's other places, but the regulations don't allow us without a variance to do that. So we can't develop the site without a variance, and so we're here to request approval.
Thank you, Dana. Just to reiterate, no matter what we would, in order to fully develop the property, we need a variance of some kind for parking. So either we ask you to reduce the number of spaces that we need in order to comply, which I don't think is probably the better way to go. We decide to say, how many spaces can we get with the minimum amount of setbacks that can tolerate the use on the site. So we could have probably 6 or 7 spaces and not have a variance, but then we'd have to get a variance from the requirement that at least half our spaces be on the site. So no matter which way we look at this. Now, the other thing I will tell you is that what's going to be set before the Planning and Zoning Commission is a plan for 2 retail spaces downstairs and 4 studio apartments upstairs. That configuration is has the least amount of parking requirements for any fully developed use of this site. If we went with office space on the second floor, we need more cars than 15. We'd probably need closer to 18 or 20. Right. So, we don't want to do that. So the studio apartments will require 1 space each, and then because of the square footage for the retail or whatever happens to be on the first floor, that's where the other 11 spaces are necessary, given the measurements there. So, if we did some other kind of use, we'd need more. So this is the fewest number of spaces we can have and utilize the entire building. So, be glad to answer any questions. I don't know if staff has anything to add. I will tell you that staff has been very helpful in this. They actually prepared the application. You can see it's signed by the town manager, because technically the town still owns the area where most of these spaces are going to be.
That is correct. So, we had been speaking with the applicant, Ronnie Salas, or the owner, Ronnie Salas, about this, and he came to us asking whether or not he could utilize some of the town property, whether it be through lease or whatever. One way or the other, the town has agreed to convey that section that was described on the map. And, we would like to help him in supporting revitalization in Thompsonville and, just helping restore a historic site. And this was one good way of doing it, so that's it. I do have, I looked at department comments right before the meeting, and there was no response, although everybody had actually gone on to it. So there's no response from anybody except for the police, and they just wanted proper signage for the handicap space and a stop sign at the end of the parking lot before you enter the street. But that'll be taken care of at the site plan approval process. And one correction under the motion, the second to approve with the reduction of setback for parking areas from a building, that would be a 4-foot variance as at the last sentence, not a 6-foot variance.
That's moving it from the 10 feet to the 6 feet. That's shown here. Okay.
Right. It is, every time you do it, except for when you write it. You can do the math, you just have to write it correctly.
Questions of the commission? Commissioner Kwasnicky?
If the public the town granted all of the community garden space, just curious, would you be able to comply with the 15-car lot, or is that still a challenge?
What, I mean,
I don't believe that's an option, but he can answer your question.
I would say we could probably meet it if we had more land, but those community gardens are being used, from my understanding, and I don't think there's a will to get rid of them. So
wasn't looking at that.
It's not really an option, but yeah. Technically, I believe, I haven't done a plan to see whether or not it could or could not, but in my experience looking at it, we wouldn't need a lot more. I'm gonna have to reconfigure it, but
it wasn't offered, so it's
really not a viable option at this point.
Lori, quick question: were the parking lot requirements regulations enacted before 1931 or after? Thanks.
Yeah, those regulations, I think, are only 3 or 4 years old now, and they've been changed a couple times.
The Thompsonville regulations are new from about 4 years ago, so.
I think the Thompsonville regulations used to have a little more lax standards for setbacks for parking in Thompsonville, recognizing that it's a denser part of town, but the newer regulations did not. And I guess we weren't even sure whether that was intentional or just an oversight. But in any way, it's a problem for us being able to move forward.
And we'll probably try to fix that in the future with amendments.
Commissioner Neville?
The only legitimate question I have, and I really looked at it to see what was going on, I was down there today, is your math question. I had that marked down twice, that the 4 to 6. Okay? Take out my calculator. The only other thing I'd say to you, looking around there, I ride by there an awful lot. It's really not a nice place to look at, okay? You've been very creative in the way you've tried to get it back into circulation and stuff, and I applaud you for that. You know, I took my plans out because I couldn't, all the foliage back there is really, really hard to see how it all fit in, but you really did quite a good job there. So historically, I think it's a good thing for the town.
Any further questions of the commission for the applicants? No? Hearing none, there's no one in the audience, so we don't have any audience participation. Do we have a motion?
Make motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, hearing's closed. Discussion.
From what I looked at the plans, what they're requesting, it's minimal, and it's an absolute wonderful project, and I look forward to seeing it move forward. And I appreciate that you've made a lot of effort to use your space as well as you did.
I'd like to say it seems pretty clear that the property is causing the hardship to comply with known regulations, and it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, there's numerous hardships on site here, including the non-conforming pre-existing building. So that would be my feeling. Further discussion? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve. Let me make sure I have this correct. Are we approving 2? Is there 2, Lori?
Yes, you can do them together or separately.
So we're going to do the first one. Section 10.10.7, parking setbacks, landscape standards, to approve the reduction of the setback for parking area from side yards to be reduced from 10 feet to 4.8 feet, thus a 5.2-foot variance for parking areas from side yards, and to approve a reduction of the setback for parking areas from building to be reduced from 10 feet to 6 feet per requirements of Section 10.10.6 of the zoning regulations, thus a 4-foot variance for parking areas from the building.
Second.
Do we have that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's the part up near the building too, plus the part on the side? Okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? None? Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you. Nice job.
I don't have a approval sheet.
Well, at least you had the motion.
Thank you. Okay, so reason for the approval is non-conforming structure of the building.
That says something else on it.
Thanks again, appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Hold on a minute, we got to get the right paperwork.
If we have a stapler, you could
92.
staple.
Main Street. Okay, we're gonna do a little, do we need this?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
chunk you need.
You guys are killing me.
You gotta give us a stapler here.
Well, no, the good parochial school teaches you how to,
How to mend paper?
yeah. We'll just kind of fold it like that.
You couldn't afford staples, that's why.
Yeah, nuns teach you lots of things.
I know.
There you go.
I had lots of years with them.
All right, so we're going to ignore this. And we're going to go for this. But I need some reasons first before I So it's
The property is burdened by numerous hardships.
property. You want to tell me
Yep.
one?
Wetlands,
Yep.
2, slope of the lot, 3, shape of the lot, 4 is the pre-existing structure from the 1930s, which was built before setback regulations.
Lori, do you want these printouts back? The engineer drawings?
If you don't want them.
Okay, all right, I've signed. You sign. Here, you can have mine. You can have all this junk if you want.
Yeah, take whatever you want.
Yeah.
Here, we need
Send it
you.
back to-
If they don't make any changes, we could reuse them, so.
Yeah.
Most of the
Right,
time,
why spend, well, there was a comment made at the planning and zoning meeting last week that said we had the plans and they didn't. I need you to sign.
they haven't made application yet.
That would be a good reason why we had the plans.
Well, they had already been in front of us. I thought we gave the plans back. Okay, we've done a little doctoring to this.
But it works, just,
Let me know when they're ready. I'll come on in.
okay. Moving along through our agenda then. We have approval of minutes of September 6, 2022.
Needs to be fixed.
We don't have them.
We
Which
don't-
should be August 20,
August 29th, that's the special
July
meeting
24th,
minutes.
2022, and then August 29th was the executive session.
Right, we're missing one set.
July 25th, we're missing those
Yeah.
meeting minutes.
So for the next meeting, I need to make sure that we have the July 24th, 5th
Yep.
Yeah.
minutes. And you received the August 29th, correct?
Yes.
Yes, we did. Why we brought up the date is it was in the agenda
Okay.
as the wrong date.
Yeah, thank you.
But I believe we can make a motion to change that to discuss the
Yeah.
August 29th.
I'll make a motion to change the minutes to be reviewed to the August 29th instead of the September 6th listed here.
Second.
And all those in favor?
All right,
Great. Okay. Discussion on those minutes.
My name is Mary Ann Turner, so could we edit my name from Mary Turner, or my mom has to be here? As much as I'd love Mom here, if we don't mind on that. And I just have a question on the second page, be it further resolved, second one, and this is probably an attorney question. It says attend documentation. What does that mean? I don't even remember us,
Supporting.
that's all it means? Okay, because it's in here a
I
couple
mean,
of times.
I wasn't involved in this hearing, so I can't say.
Oh,
But
you don't
that
know.
would be a plain meaning of that.
Okay.
Second page.
Be it further resolved as soon, in that second one, not the now, but the be it further, the first one?
Yeah, that was verbatim from the motion.
From what she wrote,
Yeah,
from what
that
she
was
wrote.
literally,
Because I don't have, they took all the documents from us,
right.
so. And the October 7, 2022 date, I'm assuming is the same thing. It was from her documents? Okay.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes
With those
from,
amended changes?
with the amended changes.
Second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Abstention? Me.
Rich was, Rich
I
Jones.
made the motion.
Neville.
Molto bene.
Okay. Correspondence and staff reports? Anything more for us?
We're holding our, one of our POCD meetings with the Planning and Zoning and the POCD Steering Committee this Wednesday. We're getting dangerously close to getting the POCD kind of like finalized, so that's really good. We will hold another meeting or two after that, but we wanted to get the PCC started on, because only 2 members of the PCC is actually on the steering committee, so we wanted to get them, it's going to be their document, so we wanted to get them starting to get involved. So that's about it. We do have a new secretary. She's replacing Cheryl Eckenroth. So Cheryl went from Development Services to the Town Manager's office, and now Development Services is no longer. So I am now the Director of Planning instead of Director of Development Services. So there's been a little bit of switch, and part of what's happened with your agenda today was a little bit of a result of that. Nicole Maruka was here. She was doing all of our agendas and things like that, but she left the town and is working elsewhere. So this was all part of that transition. So hopefully the next one's going to be just right on.
Understood, thank you. Okay, do we have any other business?
Can you report back to us on the next set of issues with that property?
Yeah, I'll go up there tomorrow. I'll talk to him again and go over the different issues that surround the property.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds great.
Okay, so do we have a motion to adjourn?
Wait,
No?
let me make
Oh,
sure that we-
Marion might have an action.
While Marion's looking that up, I do want to thank the town attorney's office for running that session with you, Lori, last week. That was a good session. Really appreciated the time the 2 attorneys put into that, as well as you, and a good oversight, and again, a great opportunity for us as multiple land use commissions to get together. So highly encourage that we continue that.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed it, which, I mean, people were actually almost, kind of laughing. It was like, what? People getting along and being jovial, it was great.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was very poignant as well, and the attorneys did a great job, but thank you.
I think it was very good to have everybody there from all the land commissions. We could never see them. Unless
Yeah.
you watch TV, you may not know who some of these people are.
Yeah.
I thought it was a very, very important way to do it, and share some of the stuff that we're all talking about.
Yeah, we will be continuing that. And as the attorneys requested from those that attended, would you rather see it, a meeting like we had, live in person with the different boards and commissions, or do you want it virtual? Do you want it half and half? So it just, they're looking for feedback.
Yeah, and I'd encourage them. I think, again, we had good representation across all the land use, and having it in person, I think, was helpful. Again, just the connection between the direct connection between the land use commissions, I thought was helpful.
Great,
I think you
thank
tend to pay more attention when you're in person. Just saying.
Can't turn your video off.
I don't know how the rest of you feel. I'm just sick and tired of virtual. Okay, there's a need for it, but not, I've been to too many
Yeah.
virtual meetings.
Having a live meeting, you get more out of it, because when it's virtual, you can't see, like, even if it's not virtual, if you're watching ETV, you guys are the focus.
Right.
You don't see the audience unless somebody in there is speaking. So, you can miss out on something when it goes digital.
The Yard House is up to snuff. The decks are down, and that was in our open items.
Really?
So that is done. I was by there the other day.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that as well.
Drove by the other day, too.
Did we ever finish with the Buy Center of Enfield?
No, that's being addressed. I had to send out another letter on the Yard House, and that's why it was,
Oh, well, that's why they're finished.
yes.
Well,
So
they
they're-
are finished.
Yeah, they are done with that.
All right, well, that's off my
30
list here.
33 Palumba Drive is still, has not been approved. So,
How long
dealing,
are they going to keep doing business until we finally stop them? Just curious.
I'm working on that along with
I'm sure you are.
a few others.
Well, now tomorrow you have more things to do. I make a motion to adjourn.
Very good, we're adjourned.